As Mr. Hughes is making his way back, we are starting our special meeting of the Board of Education here at 6:15 p.m. And item 1A, can you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right. Item 1B, approval of agenda and items for discussion.
I move that the agenda for the May 12th, 2025 special meeting be approved.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogolewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw? Yes. Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, that motion passes. Item 1C, approval of the minutes from the April 21st, 2025 meeting.
I move that the minutes from the April 21st, 2025 regular meeting be approved.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion on item 1C, approval of minutes from April 21st, 2025? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogolewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw? Yes. Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, that motion passes. Item 1D, call to the public. No cards, Renee? All right. Item 2A, LESA election, June 2nd, 2025, for discussion. Mr. Hughes, would you like to kind of give the board an overview?
Yes, I would. So when the Livingston Education Service Agency has positions to fill on their board, right? So it's time for them to do elections, and they do it a little different than we do, and that is that they open it up for people to apply, and they have 3 candidates. Now, in the Livingston Education Service Agency has 5 board members. And traditionally, what we've tried to do is to have a representative from each of the communities of the 5 public schools to sit on the board, right? It just makes sense. Now, legally, you can have up to 2 people from a district sit on the board at LASA, but not more than 2 from a local district within that ISD. So it's always worked out. It's always been a good fit for everybody. You'll remember back in February, I let you know that Eileen Jankowski, who had represented Hartland for many years, had resigned, and they were doing interviews. And Lisa Marcella O'Leary, who's here tonight, you'll hear from her during the superintendent's report in the main meeting, the regular meeting. She applied, she interviewed with a number of candidates. Their board sat her on their board, so she's been sitting on the board as a Hartland representative. So she's on the ballot tonight to finish out the term, the short term. And then there is Harold Fryer, who is from Fowlerville. He's been on the LASA board for some years. If you went to the meeting that we had in April, you probably met him. And then Pinckney has Cindy Michanowski or Michanus, I'm not sure how to say that, but she is their representative. So this board in the second meeting tonight will have to appoint one of you as the spokesperson for the district to go to LASA on June 2nd and cast the vote that this board asked you to cast. So there are 3 positions, there are 3 people. It seems like a no-brainer that the board would say whoever's going to represent Hartland would go there and cast the vote for those 3 individuals. You also have to appoint an alternate in case that person cannot attend for some reason that night. So that's really the process. Again, it's as simple as it is. So if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those. All right. So that's what you're going to do tonight in the second meeting, in the regular meeting.
Any, go ahead.
I was going to say, so is it appropriate then for us to discuss now, like who would volunteer to be or who would want to be that designated person? I'm happy to do that. I'm available on June 2nd. And then obviously we just need to find an alternate for me in case I can't go. But I'm happy to do that unless somebody else wants to. Any burning desire to go?
No, Kristen, you just
I can be your
volunteered.
backup. I'm
Okay.
not traveling that day.
Okay.
Sounds good.
One day.
So you'll
But we'll
have
have to
to,
vote on that at the next meeting because
Correct.
this is technically the special meeting for discussion. So
Yep.
Right.
trying to make sure we follow both the law and the
Intent.
intent around the LESA work that we are doing on June 2nd. Any additional questions for that discussion item?
Did anyone volunteer for alternate?
I said I could go.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Mr. Hughes? Or I saw Mike walk in as well. He's here.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to item 3A, we are adjourned on the special meeting. We will begin our regular board meeting in 9 minutes. 12th, 2025, board meeting to order. Item 1A, would you all please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance? I loved all the student voices we heard in that. Thank you all. Item 1B, approval of agenda/items for discussion.
I move that the agenda for the May 12th, 2025 meeting be approved.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogoleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I'm a yes, that motion passes. We're moving right on to item 1C, the superintendent's report.
Hello, everyone. Mrs. Lutzy, I'm going to jump you to the front of the line, okay? So, woo-hoo, I'm going out of order. So, why don't you go ahead and line up the students, and I'm going to introduce Ms. Gunn, Principal Gunn from Creekside, to introduce our special guest tonight.
All right, so something that I'm really proud of at Creekside is our peer-to-peer program. These students work really hard. It's better coming from them than it is for me. So I'm actually gonna just turn over the talking all to the students, to Ms. Lutzy and Ms. Bowling. Ms. Lutzy? Good evening. So we are very proud of our peer-to-peer program at Creekside. We have over 40 students who are in our peer-to-peer program at Creekside. And our peer-to-peer program really works to support students with disabilities to increase their social connections and model appropriate behavior. Students in the peer-to-peer program, they learn and grow in areas related to friendship, kindness, communication, confidence, and responsible decision-making. But I know that you guys do not want to sit here and listen to me tell you what students get out of the program. And so tonight we wanted to have our students come and talk to you themselves and tell you specifically what peer-to-peer this year has meant to them. And so.
Peer-to-peer is about making connections. I love peer-to-peer because we get to learn about different people. I enjoy bringing smiles to their faces, and I love helping others. Peer-to-peer is about building relationships. Every day I learn something new about my friends. Peer-to-peer is about friendship. Peer-to-peer has helped me make lots of new friends. I like to spend time with the students in the ERP, and I'm friends with everybody now.
Peer-to-peer is about overcoming barriers. I learned ways to talk to other students who may not be able to use their words to say how they feel. So I've learned to watch their facial expressions or actions to tell me what they may need.
Peer-to-peer is about kindness. Peer-to-peer is important because we get to encourage others who need some support. Peer-to-peer is about bravery. We can meet new people, and you don't have to be scared to stand up for others and speak your mind. Peer-to-peer is about confidence. Peer-to-peer helps me learn that I am an awesome role model and a great friend to others. Peer-to-peer is about fun. I feel happy and joyful when I get to learn about other people and my friends too. Peer-to-peer is about being yourself. There are so many different ways you can be involved in peer-to-peer. You can find one that's good for you.
Peer-to-peer is about communication. Creekside should keep doing peer-to-peer because it helps kids learn new ways to communicate.
Peer-to-peer is about leadership. Peer-to-peer is about learning about yourself and others. I have learned that some minds work a bit differently, but that I can still become close with them. Peer-to-peer is about leadership. I like being a role model and knowing adults trust me. This program has helped me realize that I want to be a teacher when I grow up, so I can keep making a difference.
Peer-to-peer is about coming together. Peer-to-peer makes everyone feel like school is a good place to be.
Thank you for listening to what makes peer-to-peer so special to us at Creekside.
This is our peer-to-peer.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. We just love to hear from our students. And I know some of you have seen me in the school, and those are my favorite days, when I'm in the school and I'm watching you learn and I'm watching you interact. And this young man on the end, I'm going to point him out, he told his mom, Mr. Hughes has really big hands. And I'm like, they're not that big, you know? But I remember that. So again, thank you all for everything you do. Board, do you have any questions for our young friends? Awesome.
I just want to say thank you for being here. I loved what you guys said in explaining the program, because, you know, adults in the room, in the community, we just see peer-to-peer, and it's hard to really be precise about what that means and what it means to the students and what it means in the school. So to hear, especially about the positive role models you guys make, is huge. And thank you, each and every one of you, for being a positive role model in your school, and that makes a really, really big difference. So thank you very much.
And thank you from me and the rest of the board, because what you're doing is really important. It's very good, and I hope you have big success with it.
And if there's ever anything we can do to support you in these efforts, please let us know. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night. I think that I saw a table full of snacks out there for everybody. So parents, I think, are allowed to have snacks too, for bringing them. All right. So next, I'd like to introduce Lisa Marcella O'Leary. Lisa, if you could come up. Lisa is the Hartland representative on the LESA school board. Lisa went through the interview process, I think I told you earlier, and was appointed by the LESA board. She's now up to fill the seat for a 2-year term, if I'm not mistaken. And so, Lisa, I asked her to come and tell us a little bit about herself, as she is our representative for Hartland. So, Lisa, I'm going to let you go.
Okay, so I have been a resident of Livingston County for 30 years and in the Hartland School District for 21. My husband and I, we have 2 sons. My eldest graduated Hartland in 2017. He was born with disabilities, and he's been in LESA programming since he was 3 months old. And he has benefited from many of the programs in LESA, as well as what Hartland schools have done, including peer-to-peer. When he was in high school, he formed some wonderful relationships with the students that were involved with that. He is currently a successful dog grooming blow-dry guy at a local dog grooming place. My other son, Michael, was a 2020 graduate of Hartland, and he just recently graduated from Michigan State. And he is in the throes of applying to PA school. He graduated summa cum laude, both from Hartland and from MSU. So very proud of both my sons. I myself am 2 years retired from General Motors, where I worked for 32 years in testing and development at the Milford Proving Grounds. I hold a master's and a bachelor's degree from Purdue University. And I come from a very, very small town, way smaller than Hartland, right on the border between Ohio and Pennsylvania, kind of close to Pittsburgh, so kind of a Steelers fan. And I feel very honored to have been chosen for the LESA board position. I have learned so much about what has happened since my son has graduated out of the program. Wonderful things going on there. I had a wonderful experience with my son. When he was in Hartland, we were very well supported. He was very well taken care of, and he has really grown. He's very successful in his job and in the community as a result of it. So I want to thank you very much for your consideration, and to say, you know, Hartland schools are fantastic. Both my kids benefited in 2 ways, so. Any questions for me?
I don't have any questions for you, but thank you. I know we've met a few times, and thank you for being willing to be a voice on the LESA board and being willing to serve. So, I mean, I think your experience as a Hartland parent and some of the things that you've experienced will be a great benefit to LESA and the community. So thank you again for being willing to serve. Much appreciated.
Thank you. It's an honor. It truly is. I've always wanted to give back, because both of my kids have benefited so much from Hartland and LESA. So, okay.
Just a question, and it's nice to meet you. What are some of the, I guess, priorities that you see for Hartland that you want to take back to the LESA board?
So I come into this position with no preconceived ideas. Chuck and I have talked about having fairly regular meetings to talk about what's happening at LESA and at Hartland, and to be a conduit between the two, and to represent LESA on the LESA board, but to understand what's happening at Hartland too, and to bring those issues up as necessary. I know Dr. Hubert has many ways where information flows through the professional channels, but I have said I'm happy to have regular meetings.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, we'll take that one off. And next, we're going to ask Mr. Howerton to bring up Mrs. Lively and Mrs. Johnson. Mrs. Lively is our Hartland Teacher of the Year. Ms. Johnson is our Hartland Support Person of the Year. And Tony, I'm going to turn it over to you to say really nice things about each of these individuals, right?
Yeah, of course. It's a very, very easy thing to do, Superintendent Hughes. So again, very honored to be working with both of these ladies, and I just want to share some of the things their coworkers wrote about them as they nominated them for Teacher and Support Person of the Year. So Mrs. Lively, our Teacher of the Year. Allison is an exceptional teacher and gives everything she can to her students, the HCS music program, and our Hartland community at large. Allison's endless energy for the music program of Hartland spans over 20 years. She has been an exceptional teacher at multiple grade levels and buildings. She truly gets to know her students, not just by name. As a colleague, she is ready to provide help or bounce around ideas at any time. Allison touches the lives of hundreds of students every single year. She lays the foundation for the skills, attention, and camaraderie that have become synonymous with band in Hartland. Her patience and professionalism are boundless. In addition to bringing enthusiasm and quality lessons daily to her classroom, she has published arrangements of music for elementary and intermediate bands. She writes drill for our Hartland Eagles and is irreplaceable on the field during band camp and on Friday nights. During quarantine and the COVID years, she worked tirelessly to create videos and met with students individually when they were struggling with their instruments at home. She is a champion for every single student and is empathetic with their individual needs and concerns while simultaneously raising the bar for them personally and musically. Allison has had a hand in every grade level of this district. Her passion and love for teaching and her students is immediately apparent. She goes above and beyond for this district. So congratulations, Allison. Thank you for your dedication, kindness, and commitment to student success. Thank you. I can personally attest to Allison's work. My son is in band. He's a sophomore now. Gosh, almost a senior. Sophomore now, and band has been a game changer for him. So thank you so much. And Mrs. Johnson, Jody Johnson here is our Support Person of the Year. We're thrilled to celebrate her as such. Her dedication to student learning and success is truly remarkable, and she brings passion and care to everything she does. As a special education independence facilitator, Jody goes above and beyond to support students who learn differently and at their own pace. She has an incredible ability to connect with each student, recognizing their unique strengths and challenges. Her compassion, patience, and intuition make a world of difference in their educational journey. Jody doesn't just assist, she advocates, encourages, and inspires. She creates an inclusive and nurturing environment where students feel supported and empowered to reach their full potential. Her unwavering dedication to education and to the students she serves is truly commendable. So congratulations, Jody. Again, we're grateful for your hard work, kindness, and commitment to student success. Again, very proud to be working with these two ladies, and thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to say thank you, Allison. Allison, you were here last board meeting, and you were like, yes, I'd love to highlight my kids, and you are involved in so much, and you're always got a smile on your face, and I really appreciate that. And Jody, it doesn't matter what kind of a day you're having at the middle school. Every time I interact with you, even if you're running in another direction, you're always smiling and you're always happy to be there for our kids. And I picked up on the word, not only do you love our kids, but you advocate for them. So thank you. All right. Next up is Matt. Come forward, bond update. And remember, community, everybody listening out there, you can visit our website and go down to the links, and you will see that there's bond updates. So we keep everybody abreast of what's happening, as well as how we're spending our sinking fund dollars. So that's all there as well. I think there's 8 years worth of projects, so.
Yep, definitely. So, good evening, board. May update. So we're working diligently on the next round of bond projects, much smaller than previous years, but still important. So we are working on Building 51. We're doing the HVAC, carpet, window, and domestic well replacement, which will be starting May 27th. We've met with the Creekside staff, and they've been awesome in terms of moving out of their room so that we can move the Building 51 staff and daycare over to Creekside and get that licensed. So we've been working on that, and they will be packing up, and the moving company will come and move all that stuff so they can start operation on May 28th. So very quick turnaround. We're working on the team room. Exterior brickwork is complete. Those pictures are there for you. Underground waste lines are installed. The roofing trusses will actually go on this week. So we're moving pretty quick on that. And then we'll start working on the interior walls and floor.
Matt, can you remind me what's going to be in that building?
Yep, so
I know we're
it's a
calling it a team room, but I didn't know what it entailed.
So it is a team room. I call it like a varsity locker room type thing. So we have basically that locker room. We're still keeping the old varsity locker room for other teams, as well as the visitor locker room. There'll be a smaller satellite concession stand, only 2 windows. If you guys remember, years ago, we used to have a trailer that they used to sell concessions out of. We got rid of that. And so this went in its place. And then there is a small training room also to supplement with the other training room that's also at the other field house. And then storage. Storage is always a big thing with sports and athletics, so serving that need also. Yep. And then sinking fund, we're still working on our sinking fund project. Selective door replacement will be happening May and June. We're getting all the hardware in and doors in currently. So that'll start after hours if we're still in school, so that will not happen during the school day. And then June time. Lakes, we're before you tonight is the selective door wall replacement. We last did the wall replacement in 2018, and we actually did more replacement prior to, I think, 2014-15. As I was explaining to Mr. Scott, unfortunately, there's a poor design of the building where water can get behind the brick and rust the angle iron and metal ties, and it's pushing the brick away. So we've been proactive in trying to replace that as needed, as well as the same condition exists on farms, and we've been working on that building also. And the high school cooling tower, the cooling tower replacement itself went great. We were delayed due to frost laws, as well as getting our state inspections. Unfortunately, he was a few days behind showing up on site, but we made it work. And so we finished the tower install, and we're finalizing some piping. We're running on partial cooling right now, but the final piece is actually in the factory today, and the guys are going to be out tomorrow to install it. So that is it.
Is that going to be a recurring thing then at Lakes with that wall, and maybe at farms too, or is this fix now going to try to?
What's before you today is actually the final amount of it on Lakes, and I think we have 1 or 2 small sections on farms, but it's not moving right now. So we'll continue to look at it. We've been using the sinking fund to tackle that task as needed, which has been extremely helpful. The sinking fund has been extremely helpful for these types of projects. But Lakes will be done after this before you tonight.
Is that a fix or repair, or is that to fix long-term?
So it's a complete removal. So we're going to remove the condition as it exists today and rebuild it all the way up to the roof line. So it should not be it should not be a condition in the future.
Cool.
Yep. So that is it. Any questions besides that? Good deal.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
All right. I do want to take a couple of minutes and thank all of the individuals in our community, our teaching staff, our board members, our administrators, for spending 8 hours on May 3rd, Saturday, May 3rd. And we had what I thought was a really good conversation in preparation for the strategic plan. We were able to go through the vision statement and the mission statement and the guiding principles and set the goals areas. Today, so thank you everybody that was involved in that. There was 34 of us, and it was just really good conversation. Board, you guys did a really good job, and I really appreciate how there was just good dialogue, right, about what we can do and what we want this district to look like in the future. So that was very promising. Today, so the board knows, we met with Greg, and we, as administrators, helped begin to develop the objectives that will go under each of those goal areas using the final product, if you recall, where you put your dots up on the paper. So we looked at all that, and we created some objectives. Greg's going to put all that together, and eventually we'll feed it back to us. And then certainly we'll be here in June to do the final presentation on where we are with year one for our strategic plan. And I believe the hopes is that a year from now, he'll come back and we'll do some work around year two and moving forward. So it's been a really good process. So I just want to thank everybody for that. So I'm going to go up to the podium, and it is that time of year where I go through my evidence of effort because not too far down the road, it's time for you guys to do my summative evaluation. So I will go to the podium.
I do want to remind the board members that you can ask questions, but we can't discuss performance in the open forum. So just a reminder on that. And then we would plan to obviously go into closed session in June to do our internal workings of the performance evaluation. As long as there's no objection, I would like someone to facilitate that again from MASB, much like we did last year where they walked through each of the items and I think kept us pretty much on task as opposed to going down rabbit holes. Because I think each of us at any given time, myself included, can head down a rabbit hole very quickly. All right. I'll hand it over to you, Mr. Hughes.
All right. So again, you have this in front of you. It is on the packets on our website. So I hope you've had a chance to take a look at it because I don't want to spend an hour and a half going through every slide and reading everything. So if you have questions as we go, please just let me know. I'll try to make this very painless for you. So we had a finance goal, and most importantly here, what we want to look at is what are the goals that were established, and then what are the assessment results. The strategies in the middle of each of these are things that we did throughout the year to try to meet that goal. So we wanted to make sure that we had another unmodified opinion in the 23-24 audit, and remember, and for the community, we get our audit results in October of every year, September, October. So they're always a little bit late. We wanted to develop a balanced budget with at least a 15% fund balance, and so that was important to us as well. We did have some finance meetings throughout the year, and now that we have a new policy, we haven't had any meetings as of yet because we've been pretty much doing them all here at the table. So everything that we've been doing, we've just been bringing forward to the whole board. We did have an unmodified opinion. Again, this is thanks to Rachel. And I think it's important that everybody understands that my evaluation and the evidence of effort can't be done just by me, right? It's all of the people in the district that are working together to make this work. And so Rachel and her team ensure that we had an unmodified opinion, the best possible opinion by our auditors. We will end the year with a 29% fund balance. We've talked with the board over and over about how we were very cautious, thoughtful, and deliberate about how we spent those dollars that came in, those one-time dollars. Some districts, I believe, overspent with those dollars. Not my district. In our district, we were cautious, and we were making sure that we were moving forward in a way that we thought was best for the school district in the out years. And so we were cautious on how we did that, thoughtful and deliberate, we'd like to talk about. And then we will review in June the budget, because in June you'll have to also create the budget and approve the budget for 25-26. We've been busy this year with contracts, as you know. You have two of them in front of you tonight. The first contract that came to us was the new Hartland Consolidated Administrator Association contract. We created that contract, we negotiated that. You approved that. We did the extended maintenance agreement a couple of months ago, I believe, And then now, in front of you tonight, we've been working with the Hartland Education Association and the Hartland Affiliates Association to what we think is right and fair for our employees. We know that we have to look at our employees who have worked with us over the years, not getting those big jumps in salary adjustments, and we wanted to make sure that this time around, we were going to be able to take care of them. And so you see some pretty good numbers in front of those contracts, but that was, again, thoughtful and deliberate, and what we think we can afford moving forward for the school district and put us in the best place that we can and put our employees in a place that is fair for them as well. We continue to visit all of our schools every year. We'll do it again in the fall. And we make sure that we have conversations with our staff about our financial picture. What does it look like? What's happening? We also meet with our organizations throughout the year, and we're very forthright with them. We're upfront with them. We show them the projections. You know, one thing we do really well within our business department is projecting 3 years out. And you always get that projection, so we know where we're at. And lastly, we anticipate another positive audit, obviously. We don't see any issues within the audit process at this point in time. We implemented a new timesheet process. That was one of our goals this year. It's going very well. There's some bugs to work out anytime that you change systems, but what this is it reduced the amount of paperwork, and it's more centered with technology. Online inputs for the hours so that we can easily calculate those and get everybody paid efficiently. Building and site, again, Matt talked about some of the work we've been doing. You've gotten updates all year long on all of the work we're doing. We're at the tail end of our 2020 bond, and so we've completed 90% of our construction projects. We'll be pretty much done with everything this summer. There will be technology, I think we talked about at the last meeting. There's always technology funds that can carry over for a few years, but that's by design. We do that on purpose to get the most bang for our buck. In regards to Objective 2, we continue to work with our SEC accountant, our security team, and I'll share that in a minute. We've had some committee meetings throughout the year. We've continued to work on our bond projects. Matt talked about these types of things that we're doing. Buses, buses, sometimes people say, buses, why through the bond program? And I know that we've had this conversation, but the public might not realize this. What's helpful in buying the buses through the bond process is that those dollars aren't necessarily coming out of our general fund. So if we were buying buses every year, we'd be paying car payments and interest payments on those buses out of our general fund versus the bond dollars. And so that's been very helpful in alleviating our general fund so that we can do other things. Sinking fund, again, if you go to our website, you can find these slides. You'll see year 8. What we spent that money for, what we're projected to finish out in year 8. Then we also are already projecting out for year 9 and the other types of things that we need to look at in the sinking fund, such as the middle school boiler replacements, continued pool upgrades, and doors throughout the district. Every year we're putting about $300,000 into doors, because if you go into the buildings and you look at the doors, the salt and whatnot starts rotting those doors pretty quickly. And so we're constantly trying to replace those.
Chuck, I have a quick question for
Sure.
you. I was comparing the mid-year evidence of effort presentation to this one, and obviously there's a handful of changes on this list and on the year 8 list. Was there anything significant or anything like worth mentioning why some things came off the list or stayed on? Because there were some variations on both of those.
Yeah. No, it's just a matter of what we think is a priority to get done versus what we can wait with. And so we're adjusting this on a regular basis.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. Technology department, Scott Usher and his team, I know Jason's back here doing our meeting tonight. They've completed 98% of all work orders that go in. Teachers, administrators, anybody in the district can put a work order in for a tech update, for a tech order, and that gets processed. So they continue to be very efficient in completing those orders. Maintenance department, you can see they had 4,619 tickets, and they're at 97.7% completion. We do have replacement schedules. Certainly, we have a technology replacement schedule, and Scott Usher talked about that at the last meeting, I believe. This year, this summer, we'll refresh the technology in this building in the middle school. We continue to look at the bus schedule and vehicles and equipment when we need to, and those come to the board each and every time. I talked about the SEC safety review that we had done. They had listed 56 items. You should have a copy of that. I know I've sent it out on a pretty regular basis with you. We've only have one item that we haven't completed on the SEC safety audit, and that's a door, an interior door between two classrooms at Village Elementary School. And it's only because we cannot find a lock that's compatible. So it's like, can't find the lock, we have to change the door, how are we gonna work this? And so Matt's been working on it, but that's the only outstanding item. Everything else has been completed based on what the experts told us we needed to put in place to ensure we have a safe and secure environment. And remember, now backtrack on what the staff say about safety in school, what the parents say about safety in school, all in the mid 90% feel confident that we have safe environments for our students and staff. The board had asked us to do a top 10 list of things that we could do in the future. So here's a top 10 list. Again, I won't go over all of them. I will tell you, I hear regularly about the middle school bleachers because it doesn't have handlebars and ramps and things like that. So that's on here as a replacement in the future, along with the high school bleachers, select flooring, again, parking lots. We have a parking lot right out front here that's got holes in it. If you've ever walked through the front parking lot, select pipe replacements, and continue to look at bus replacements, technology, and whatnot. Curriculum instruction, we want to make sure that we are always increasing our growth of students. And sometimes people get lost in proficiency versus growth, right? Because everybody sees the proficiency ratings that are sent out and compared from the MDE. But what we don't always see is the growth factor. And I think I shared with some of you that have been in my office, I actually pulled the sheets out for last year's report cards and show that all of our elementaries, for instance, hit the 100% growth index. Every single one of our elementaries hit that last year. That means that our students are hitting the growth expectation set by the state of Michigan, Michigan Department of Education. And that means that if a child comes in third grade at a first grade reading level, let's say, or a math level, and they move at the end of that third grade year to the second grade reading and math level, they've made 1 year's worth of growth. Growth is more important to us than proficiency even. Now, proficiency is what everybody compares us to apples, but growth is more important. And we are constantly looking at how do we move every single student forward, and that's why we have so much invested in intervention along the way in our school system. I've already reported this out. You know that MDE reports out late, right? We don't get that data towards the end of the year. It's always into the new year. You've seen all of this information. And again, to the public, most of this information you've seen in my weekly updates. Most of this information the board has either seen at a board meeting or seen in my communications with you. I try to keep this fresh, always keeping our goals in mind, sending out pertinent information so everybody knows where we are throughout the year, so that when we get here tonight, this is not a big surprise, right? We don't want the board to be surprised. I don't like surprises. So we have a very good rating in regards to universal. All of our school buildings by the state of Michigan in the last report card round were universal, meaning we don't need help, we're moving in the right direction, we're good. It's the best rating possible. And you can see that 94% of our parents this year rated us an A or B school district. I've shared rankings, different types of ranking mechanisms on where we are, and we continue to hold our own. We had very high rankings here in regards to the U.S. News and World Report. We had extremely good rankings in the Michigan testing cycle, ranked number 12 out of 539 school districts, or the top 2% in the state of Michigan. And I think that that in itself is enough said in regards to how our staff is working with our students to ensure that we're moving our students forward. We do have a grant, a 23G intervention grant that we've gotten, obtained. Mr. Minsker runs that. He shared this information with me because one of the components of the grant was to make sure that we surveyed our staff and parents on how things were going. And you see very high numbers there. People are very engaged and helpful or satisfied with the intervention. We had the staff survey. You've seen the staff survey. You've gotten all of that information as a board. You'll see that 100% of our leadership team members in Mr. Minsker's leadership team felt that their input was heard by the administration. On the staff survey that everybody took, 96% of our staff said that they felt valued and supported by the current administration. And again, that's not just me. That's all of our administrators. That's central office. That's everybody working to support our staff. And 91% of our staff reported they feel respected by their immediate supervisor, their building principal. We have a high graduation rate. We always do. And our personal goals, obviously we wanted to make sure that we fill all of our positions. It's a struggle. It's no secret. We have a hard time finding bus drivers and parapros and lunch aides. We have a struggle trying to find people that want to work, especially in positions like a bus driver where you're splitting your day, or a 3-hour job, working in food service. So always trying to fill positions with the best people possible for our students. We wanted to make sure we trained all of our administrators and teachers on the new evaluation standards, and we wanted to increase staff satisfaction in regards to communications. So we've had some committee meetings. Our communication with our stakeholders, this is how we make sure we get information out to our stakeholders. I've done 39 weekly updates this year. Again, I don't do that by myself. I can't do that without everybody feeding me lots of information. And believe it or not, sometimes I have to say, no, I'm not putting that this week, right? Because they get fairly long. We do community life. We try to spotlight teachers, not just teachers, employees of the month. We've had 15 community and senior center meetings this year. The board had made that one of my goals, is to be more visible in the community and meeting with people. And each time that I do that, I've let the board know that I had that meeting and this is what we talked about. I've had 6 student meetings, which included meeting with our student body at the high school, as well as our captain meetings each season. And those have been very well received. And I have a new contact at the high school for next year. So the person, Sadie Malik, who I was working with to set all that up with the students, has turned it over to another student, so we're working together. Partners in progress. I continue to have different types of meetings with superintendents and the FACT with Tyrone Township. And of course, we have a social media person we employ to try to get information on social media. Everybody, 100% were evaluated, and we told the board we would do that. That was our goal. We finished that early on. How do our seniors feel as they leave Hartland High School? These are important questions. From my perspective, when I was a high school principal for 12 years, I wanted to know, what did our students say about school, right? Do you have at least one adult that you can go to? 98.8% of our students responded, our seniors, that they have somebody that they're connected to at the high school as an adult. That's powerful. That is absolutely important. Would you recommend Hartland High School to families and friends? 84.8%. 85% said absolutely. And did you have a positive experience? 88%. So that's very good information for myself, the district, and certainly Mr. Fitzgerald and his team at the high school. We continue with our school of choice efforts. Yes, it's been down a little bit over the years, but we still had 193 new enrollees. So that's a good thing. I know that the board had asked in the past, where are students coming from? Where are they going, right? So this graph has been shared with you. You've seen this before, the community have seen this. It just shows where do we get our enrollment from. So the blue is where they came from to us, and the pink is where they dropped. The thing that surprised me the most about this whole thing was the out of state. I thought we would have lost a lot more students out of state based on everything I read about the exodus from Michigan. It wasn't that way with our numbers as far as where did our students go. Actually got more students, double the students that came in from out of state, which was a surprising factor. Mr. Hassler does a athletic survey. Again, I won't read all this to you. Just trying to get a handle on our coaches and what our coaches are doing in our programs. Where did we hire people this year? Again, you've seen this. We've had 18 teachers. By the way, right now we have 17 teachers have retired this year. So we're in the process. We had 5 first semester and now 12 this semester. I understand the applicant pool is healthy. All the principals are getting the applicants in, and they're very pleased with that they're getting in as far as applicants for teaching positions in Hartland. So that's a positive. What's the fill rate? As of April 30th, the fill rate is we had posted 56 positions and filled 86% of them. And the ones that are outstanding really are the student nutrition and the recess paras, the 3 hours in the middle of the day, trying to find people to do those jobs. We do keep track of where we have expulsion hearings, and Mrs. Gregory, Student Services, Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, when our students violate the code of conduct in certain categories that are starred in the front of each of our student code of conducts, they go to an expulsion hearing. And the power of the expulsion hearing is that it forces the parent to be with the child, to be a part of the solution. We've always said that. Our intervention base goes to discipline and behavior as well. When students misbehave, when they violate the code of conduct, we want to work with and intervene with the parents and our support services person, Nicole Lusk, and work with the families, get them the services and help they can get so that they don't come back to us in another expulsion hearing. And very rarely do we have a double. Kate, I don't even know if we had doubles this year. One student that came back to us for a second hearing. So, and then we do some things with that. I can't share all that with you. Certainly would be happy to have a conversation with you, but we can provide alternates for those students that are struggling. Common discipline infractions, bus violations, disruptive behavior, and you can see those types of things that our building principals and our staff are working with on a regular basis to intervene with students. And of course, our partners in progress are extremely important to us. You heard it again at the strategic planning session. You don't find districts that have that partnership with their local library, with their chamber, with their township, working together with the school district. That's a real powerful piece of what we do to connect everybody together in the services that we provide. Health and safety continues to be important to us. People, the big one here was the village monitoring wells. If you remember what we went through with that, I'll get to it. But Eagle has the final report, and we're just waiting on Eagle, who is a little less staffed nowadays than they've been in the past. So we're just waiting for them. They needed no more testing, no more anything. They've got the report. It's just a matter of getting somebody to come in and grout all those monitoring wells and close them down. Once they say we can, of course. We've had limited policy committee on this issue. We did do the radon testing that was brought up last year from some parents. If you recall, we had a parent group meeting I attended. I assured them that we would test all of our buildings. We did. We found exactly what we thought we would find, and that is we don't have any high radon levels in any of our buildings. And those were done, remind you, during winter break, when the buildings were closed, when the air handlers weren't up and running full steam, as they do now, and we had no issues with radon in our buildings. So that was a positive. Again, the final report's been presented to Eagle for Village Wells, and we're looking to close that down. We continue to make sure that we have school safety as our #1 issue, and so you can see the different things that we've done here. The really cool thing about our number 6 here, our resource officers and our school safety officers, all the same people came back this year. Right? After a year, they did not go, no way, don't want to do that. I was fishing this weekend with a former police officer who lives in Brighton, and I asked him about Fortis. Did he know about Fortis? Yeah. You know, had you thought about maybe working for Fortis? And he's like, nope, that's not for me. I couldn't do that. But he knew who our resource or our safety officers were, and like Ron Fluter, and I'm like, yeah, great guys. He's like, yeah, they're great guys, but you wouldn't want me. So that was an interesting conversation. But we have some really good people in our buildings, as you know. We continue to have things in operation, Raptor and emergency operation plans, and we just go through all of the safety components that we need to go through to be prepared in case something happens in this district, God forbid. But we got to be ready. Our high school, our parents, again, say that 94.1% agree that, or strongly agree, or agree that school's a safe place. And our staff reports 96% of staff believe that it's a safe place. Our school resource officers, once again, were asked these questions this year. Just like last year, 100% feel like our buildings are awesome, and they just absolutely love what's happening in Hartland schools. This is directly from our resource officers, including Deputy King, who came back too. We didn't scare Deputy King away, so that's good. Maybe you'll come back again next year. So here is, I won't read all these, but you know, I believe that I give the people in the building a sense of security. I believe the kids feel safe. I truly feel that my presence gives staff, parents, and students a sense of safety. So this is information that we're getting from our safety team. We continue to look at any place that we can do updates. And that is the end of my presentation. Are there any questions?
I have 2 questions. In the finance section, we're at 29% are expected to be at the end of this year. What does that 3-year trajectory look like?
Well, mind you, we can easily project expenses. The revenue is the tricky part, right? But projecting out our expenses, we're still at about 16%.
Okay, year 3?
At year 3. Yep.
Okay. And then my second question is, you know, and as part of the evaluation process, obviously, we want to understand how tickets are being closed out, but do we have, I'm going to call it a wish list, like where our staff or teachers or building leads can, you know, put in like yeah, we could use this or this technology or this building update, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, do we have a means of capturing some of that?
Actually, last year, so we're ahead of the curve on that one. Last year, we went to our staff and we said, okay, we've got some extra money. What do you need? What is it that you want? And we compiled a list, and we had that list, and we worked through that list, and end of last year and this year, we pretty much did all that, did we not?
Oh, there's still stuff to do on the list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's why the 29% fund balance. It's like, spend your money.
Just food for thought. I think as things are changing, and I'm sure Mr. Usher could attest to this, I guess having an idea or a consistent parking lot of things that are coming up just to have on our radar, because you don't know what you don't know. I certainly probably wouldn't be an expert in that field, but we have many people in the district that are. Just food for thought.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Hughes.
One
sorry.
quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, with the buses that we have, how many are actually used? I know we have a problem finding drivers. I know we've had to reduce routes. What's the plan for purchasing additional buses?
So Matt, we just had this conversation the other day, and we're actually, when we sold some buses this year, we're actually down buses from last year, right?
Yep, so part of the last conversation we had about buses was looking at the fleet and kind of reducing it a little bit to kind of meet our needs as a district. So we actually are down to 56. We used to be at 59. So we're looking at long-term projections in terms of growth and enrollment. And so we're working our fleet down to a more manageable level. We were at 59 buses, but that was when I did the projections prior to COVID. We were actually a growing district. And so I meet with, or I get site plans from the township in terms of what developments are going in. And so I always tell the story, in the 8 years I've been here, only one development has gone in, but I have a whole file folder full of developments that are potentials. So it's kind of one of those things. The unfortunate part is getting a bus doesn't happen overnight. You know, our buses took a year to get here. And so we have 56 in the fleet. We have 36 routes, and we're going to continue to reduce those. The unfortunate part is we need enough spares to handle 5 or 6 field trips out for athletics, 1 or 2 field trips for school events per day. We could have 4 or 5 in the garage for work. And actually, the new buses we got, I just got 4 recalls on because of electronic issues or things like that. So that's why we do keep the spares, but we try to make sure it's a manageable size for our mechanics.
And again, too, I know you've said this before. What happens with the old buses?
We sell them. Yep.
And is the market pretty good for old buses, or?
So, but, a couple of years ago, no. I mean, we only got probably $4,000 for a bus. A new bus is actually around $150,000, shiny and new. But recently, the last batch we sold was about, I think, $11,000, $12,000 per bus. We get people that buy them to turn them into RVs. We got a couple actually residents in the community that did that. We have some other school districts down south that our head mechanic knows, and they have actually purchased them also for down south. So,
Even with the rust?
so we do a very good job taking care of our fleet, actually. Our mechanics do a fabulous job, and that's why they continue to call upon Hartland to come get them. So yeah.
Keep in mind also, board, should be in June, that the Amman Consultation Group will come back to us. They just wrapped up their survey of our parents. I think Tim told me that they had 245 responses on our survey, and so they'll come back. Interestingly enough, and I don't want to give too much away, but one of the comments midway through was, it seems to them that efficiency-wise, we're less efficient with 36 than we would be with 42 drivers. So in order to be efficient, they actually are indicating that we should have more drivers. But we'll wait for that report to come out, and then the board can take action from there, so.
Yep. Good.
Okay, I had a couple questions, somewhat related to President Gleabach on the fund balance. I assume that already is kind of factoring in some of the contracts that we're
Yes.
voting on tonight?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Question about whether or not seniors recommend Hartland High School. 85 is good. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't higher than that. Are we tracking that year over year so we can kind of watch trend, or is it going up? Is it going down? Kind of, I guess if there was a constructive criticism to offer, I would say some cases there was trends and other cases there weren't. If you could kind of include some of that on all the various metrics, that would be appreciated.
I wonder too, is that, do they provide feedback beyond just the vote for why some may feel that way? Just if there's consistent areas of concern or that they have?
I don't believe they do a comment section, but.
Okay.
All right.
Any additional questions, team?
And I think that ends the superintendent's report.
Awesome. Thank you. Obviously, over the next 4 weeks, feel free to meet with Mr. Hughes if there's questions or specifics or deeper dives that you want to do, if you want to see data or what have you. Item 1D, call to the public. We got Mrs. Pam.
Many of you know me. I'm Pam Sheezer. I'm currently am the board president for the Hartland Affiliates Association. The association consists of the administrative assistants, secretaries, parapros, meaning classroom aides, media, and lunch recess. We have had discussions with Chuck and Rachel and Kate regarding, instead of going to bargaining our contracts up a year from June, to come to an agreement, extend the contract, and do a wage reopener and work with some of the issues that we have. We didn't feel, our board and our members didn't feel we needed to go to full bargaining next year. We just need some clarification on some of our dates in our contract because of the school year dates changing. We have some language in there that refers to employees before 1989. We don't have any, so we thought we'd just go in for the wage reopener and to address a couple other issues, especially with the minimum wage changes. We wanted to make sure that our biggest problem is our lunch recess, and we wanted to make sure we were competitive with the salaries to hire those people and retain staff. We took our agreement to our membership last week. They voted unanimously to agree to what we are presenting tonight, and we hope the board will agree to it too. And I'd like to thank Chuck and Rachel and Kate. They were fair, and we worked together well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item 1E, committee and building reports. Mr. Scott, want to kick us off?
Didn't get a chance to go by the high school, but to dovetail on what Mr. Hughes said about strategic planning, which most of us attended last weekend, I thought it was a fantastic experience, a great way to put everyone's minds together and try to draw a path for the future in Hartland in a very changing world. So I really am looking forward to what comes back from that and having a roadmap for the district. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Gogolewski.
Just to add to Mr. Scott's comment on last week and the planning session that we had, it has been my experience every time we've had the ability to interact with staff and admin. It's been a very, very pleasant experience, and I'd like to see more of that happen throughout the year. I'd like to kind of eliminate this silo that the board is in and be a little bit more interactive. So.
Thank you, Mr. Gogolewski. Mrs. Coleman.
Let's see. I will be visiting Creekside this week. We rearranged schedules for both Creekside and Round to work around the MSTEP testing in their buildings. So I will hopefully have a nice report from the end of the school year from both buildings. These will obviously be my last visits to Creekside and Round, so I just wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Hotham and Mrs. Gunn and their staff and students for welcoming me and sharing the awesome work that you're doing there for our students. It's been a joy to visit each of those schools every month. Let's see, the Senior Center, we had a committee meeting at the beginning of May. At our last meeting, it was shared that the Hartland Township has generously increased their annual donation in support of the center, which is great. So thank you to Hartland Township and the other neighboring townships that also support the center. A lot of what they do at the center couldn't happen without the funds that you provide for our community. you'll see the bus that was purchased last year in the Memorial Day Parade. So give the seniors a shout out there. They'll be there handing out, I believe, some candy. And Mary Lynn, I'm sorry I don't remember your last name, but you are on the committee with us, and she is actually the Grand Marshal of the parade this year. So that's pretty exciting for the Senior Center too. Recent events that they had there were very successful. They had a dinner theater that was almost sold out. They did a fundraiser at Hartland Brewing. Thank you to Hartland Brewing for always being willing to support all of our local organizations, especially with the schools. They had a spring music concert and a Mother's Day brunch. They've got a lot of stuff coming up. There's a Rockette show in late June. Those tickets should probably be on sale this week. They're doing a new event, a community garage sale, where you purchase, it's actually like 2 parking spaces in the parking lot. It's for $25, and then you can sell your own stuff there at the garage sale. It'll be July 12th. If you're interested, check out more information at the Senior Center. Let's see. And their annual open house will be September 4th. So if you're interested in learning more about what they do there, mark that on your calendar too. And then I know I say this every year, but it was really an incredible experience to be a part of the seniors' lasts at the high school. It's exhilarating, it's exciting, it's emotional, even if I don't know any seniors. But Decision Day and the Senior Walk are my favorites. So thank you to the high school staff, to James, yours too, Laura, thank you, for letting me be a part of that. It's truly a joy, and it's a great way to kind of start that wind down for the end of the year. To everybody else, well, congratulations to all of our seniors, and I wish you the best, but to everybody else who's still hanging on, and I know the countdown is on. It is at our house too, but I think, 9 more wake-ups? So hang tough, you got it, let's power through. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Coleman. Mr. Keller.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to wish all the mothers out there happy Mother's Day. I hope you had a good Mother's Day weekend. I want to thank Mr. Howerton and Mr. Shanavier for their hospitality this past year. I'm looking forward to, the next, the school assignment, and for the rest of the board. If you have any requests for placements next year, please send those on. I hope we continue to keep doing that. So I think it's been a good opportunity. And to kind of segue with what some of my fellow board members have said, I felt that the weekend activities, the past weekend, with the strategic planning event, I thought it was very good opportunity for all of us to kind of dialogue. Some of us that maybe don't normally get a chance to interact, I felt, it was a good time to kind of have constructive dialogue, and, things were, I thought, very positively taken on both sides, even, in cases where we had different perspectives. So for everybody that did participate, thank you very much for your time. And I think that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you. I did have my final school year meeting with Mrs. Brisky. And again, her and Mr. Urick are always open and welcome to me coming in and, breaking up their day and taking time away from what they could be doing to show me around or just to let me know what's going on in the building. So I appreciate that. I agree. I think continuing having board members visit buildings and having an assigned building, I think it's a great thing, and I agree we should continue it. And I just want to also say congratulations to the class of 2025.
Thank you, Mrs. Shaw. Mr. Campbell.
No report for Lakes, but I did get to spend time with the seniors and talk to them about drug use and abuse education, prepare them a little bit as they're released from kind of the bubble that Hartland's in. We talked about that, and they're released into the world, so that was a good time spent with them. Credit to Mr. Usher and the high school students for Mamma Mia. That was an awesome play performance, and spring athletics are killing it, so we'll see how those end up as we get to the end of that.
All right. And I have no report. But congratulations, seniors. What an awesome accomplishment, and 9 more wake-ups. That seems close, but yet still so far away. All right, moving on to item 2A. We are now under action items, and we're going to do 2A, payment of invoices.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Chief Financial Officer, approves the financial report as of April 30th, 2025, and the payment of invoices totaling $2,117,341.83, and payroll obligations totaling $4,789,511.24.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogolewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I'm a yes, that motion passes. Item 2B, LESA Budget 25-26.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the chief financial officer, approves the LESA 2025-26 budget as presented.
Support. Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mrs. Coleman, and I see Dr. Hubert is here to answer any questions and anything you'd like to say on this year's budget or this next year's budget.
No, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and if you have questions, I'll try to address those. I think overall, from a financial planning standpoint, things are pretty sound at the agency. You may notice a deficit in the special education fund, but that's a purposeful spend down of our fund balance, particularly to support the implementation of some more staff to support students with severe behaviors that are in each of our local districts. So we're staffing up in that area, and it's a one-year spend down because next year or in the following fiscal year, we'll be able to use some of the restored special education millage that the voters approved. So we needed this one-year gap, so we figured our fund balance would be a good use of support for that, because we didn't want to wait another year to start implementing some of those support services. But otherwise, I think things are pretty good overall. Not a lot of major changes. We just have our eye out for what might be impending changes from the federal level, but so far, nothing has really been clear in that space. So we're just standing ready. But happy to address questions.
Any questions?
You talked about some of the services to support the behavior issues. Could you go a little bit more into what might be changing there, what we can expect, and how we can better take advantage of those services?
Yeah, there's been a lot of conversation in the past couple of years on, do we implement new programs? Do we implement programs that are available in a center location in the county, so removing students from a district and go to another location? Most all those conversations have led back to where we've been, which is to bring services into the buildings in the form of staff that are working directly with the students. Also trying to help support your different tiered systems of support in general. But the proposal that's in our budget right now is specifically to bring behavior specialists into the buildings, and people that come with great experience and support within the county as a team, but will be in the district, in the culture of that district, get to know the students and the families there, versus right now our model has staff moving throughout the county. So we think this is going to supplement what we do currently, but really help where you need to form more relationships and have specialized staff doing that. So it'll be a couple professional staff in each of the districts, and then also a teacher consultant that'll be in a countywide access, so that somebody that can come in and just work directly with a teacher as a teacher. Not just to fix it and leave, but to form a relationship and keep ongoing conversations there as well. So trying to hit it from a lot of different perspectives, all based on a lot of input that we received around that subject of severe student behaviors. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, so specific to Hartland, how many, I guess, more paras might we expect to see as a result of that one-time increase?
It would be one behavior consultant and one, I think pair is a fair explanation of the position, but with some specialized skills in the space of severe student behaviors. So, so 2 FTEs.
2, okay. Yeah, because I know a lot of our staff has requested some additional resources in that area, so thank you for taking that into consideration.
And I acknowledge that the requests are often, beyond what our capacity is to resource the needs. This would be in the more severe of the behavior categories. So, but I know we constantly get requests for people to help in the space of student behaviors, but this will be at that upper tier of needs. Mm-hmm.
I think it's important, too, for the board to understand that this is on top of what we've already got in place. So we started 2 years ago, Mike, Crystal Brisky, Jason Rack,
Yeah,
they kind of
it's been
represented
2
us with
years.
Adrian Dean of looking at, was there was there the ability to have that center-based approach? And it kind of didn't work out. So Hartland took it upon themselves, and I think, Mike, you would agree, that we said, okay, we're going to model how we can do this and kind of be the guinea pigs, if you want to, on providing opportunity for our kids to have specialized attention where they're needed. And so we created a village elementary program with a behavior specialist and a teacher. This year, that was 2 years ago, and this year we added one at Lakes so that we can meet the needs of those students and support the teachers with those students being in that specialized setting. And the hopes being that while we're working with them in their home building, we can begin to get them into elective classes, get them learning the skills that they need to be successful. So hopefully we can get them out of that type of situation, right? Because even if you had a center-based program someplace else, you still would be working to get those kids back into the school building. So we have that we are supporting as a district, and through LASA's help with the behavior specialists, but we're paying for that. But this, what Mike's talking about, is adding on to that support mechanism so that teachers have somebody that they can work with one-on-one. That Adrian Dean, our special ed director, can deploy the behavior specialist to work with Chuck Hughes with Billy for 3 weeks if that's what he needs to help with that situation. So we've got some really good things in play, and I think that that's going to be, we have a ability to model what we're doing.
Are you going to assign these new two to a school, or do they float to work where needed, or to spread their knowledge and abilities to?
District-wide.
Is it, okay.
Any other questions? All right, I do just want to clarify, I do know, obviously, we have a motion on the table, and there is actually a resolution that the secretary of the board signs after we pass this motion, so it is in your packet, just to be fully transparent, that that's the formal process of adopting the LESA budget. All right. Hearing no additional did you have something, Cindy? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Hearing no additional discussion, Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogoleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I'm a yes, that motion passes. Thank you very much.
To dovetail on that, President Gleibach, can we have these resolutions posted online somewhere as we approve them? Because as it stands now, when we approve a resolution, it just kind of goes off into the
Sure, we
unknown.
can talk about where the appropriate place is,
Yeah, perfect.
but I don't have an answer for you right
Okay.
now.
Thank you.
Item 2C, LESA election resolution for June 2nd, 2025.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, authorizes Kristen Coleman to represent Hartland Consolidated Schools and Megan Gleibach to serve as an alternate in the upcoming LESA biennial election.
Further.
Oh, sorry.
You gotta read the
Further,
names.
the board directs them to cast votes for, Harold Fryer, Cindy Mishnowitz, Lisa Marcella O'Leary.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogoleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I'm a yes, that motion passes. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's okay if you guys leave, just so you know, you don't have to stay. So, I know
But you're more than welcome to say it. It's totally up to you. Item 2D, natural gas purchase.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Chief Financial Officer and Consultant Executive Energy Services, authorizes the Superintendent or Chief Financial Officer to extend our current contract through BP Energy Holdings for the purchase of natural gas for Hartland Consolidated Schools from July 2025 through June 2030 at a price not to exceed $4.10 per MMBTU.
Support. Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mrs. Coleman. Any discussion?
I just want to say thank you to Rachel for answering all my questions about what this resolution was for and, kind of why we wanted to do that. I do think overall it's a good opportunity for the district to lock in natural gas purchases at a stable price, and so therefore I support it.
I like the word backwardation. I think I'm gonna
That's
have
not
to
my
use
word. I can't take credit for that, but I will share that Mr. Rob Bernardi is here. He is our representative from Executive Energy, waiting in the bullpen in case there's any questions, because I am definitely not an expert on commodity trading. So if there are any questions, he's here to help us out.
One quick question.
Good job already, so I think I'm good.
Mr. Gogleski?
Yeah, just a quick question. If the price does indeed drop, is there any adjustment made for future purchases, or do we get some sort of discount on additional spending?
Yep, so after we lock in, you mean like what happens?
Right.
Yeah, so this purchase is for 85% of our estimated need, and then the other 15% is based on whatever the current price is at that time. So that's where you might pick up some of that difference.
Okay.
But yes, we're pretty much locked in for the 85% of the estimated needs under this arrangement. And we take that risk. And the trade-off is we have budget stability, for the next 5 years on this item, which between, the natural gas and the electric is a $1.5 million line item in our budget. So you can appreciate major swings could have a detrimental impact to our job. That's where the benefit of this arrangement is to provide that stability by taking that forward pricing risk off the table.
Mr. Scott?
And there was a note on last week about possible fluctuation prior to today. Was there any fluctuation in the market, or?
So the pricing that he sent as of Friday, it ticked down a little bit. So full disclosure, right now, it's currently still not trading at the $4.10. But the projection is that we should be able to hit that.
Meaning it's higher right now?
Yes, it's currently trading higher at that value. But the hope is that we can get it at that price or lower. If we can't, then we need to come back in June and revisit that. Did I do good, Rob? Okay, great.
So are you watching it daily?
I'm not watching it daily. Rob's watching it daily.
Again, just to put it in perspective for the rest of the board, I think, Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically a 1%, little over 1% increase for the next 5 years versus having an infinite increase that, we can't plan for or predict. So I do, again, think it's a good idea.
Yeah, putting it in terms of dollars, right now, we're looking at $4,500 a year for the natural gas portion of our budget is about $350,000. So for a price increase of about $4,500 that guaranteed for the next 5 years, flat for the next 5 years is it's a good deal for us.
A good deal. All right, any additional questions? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, that motion passes. I almost just read Mrs. Gleba. Item 2E, Dear Colleague Plan Resolution.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and HCS administrators, approves the Dear Colleague Plan Resolution as presented.
So,
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion?
I would just like to say a big thank you. I know Mr. Minsker isn't here, but, there were, I think, with the original version that was published in last month's meeting, there were some areas of concern for some board members, and Mr. Minsker took some time to modify that prior to last month, and then I know worked with several board members over the last several weeks to fine tune it. So I think what's before us is something we can all get behind. It's, I'm sure it's not perfect in anyone's mind, and some people would like to go one way with it, some another, but I think it really catches us in the middle and does a good job of capturing sort of what we can all agree on as it relates to the DEI that's been a thorn in our side for the last several years. So I will support this resolution.
Any additional discussion?
I would, again, like to say some similar comments. I think, appreciate Mr. Metzger's efforts to kind of champion or spearhead this, as Mr. Scott mentioned. I know for me personally, if I would have wrote it, would have looked different, and probably all would say the same about any of our finished products. But I do truly feel like it was a compromise that, 20 people came up with. So again, I know he's not here to hear it, but Mr. Metzger, hopefully somewhere in Italy you can toast and enjoy the fruits of your labor. So
I hope he's not
think
watching.
he's
yeah, safe
sleeping.
travel. I say, hope you're sleeping right now, but thanks to the rest of the team.
Here, here.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogoleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I'm a yes, that motion passes.
Mrs. Gleibach, on behalf of the administrators in Hartland Schools, we thank you, the board, for the input that you did give us. Dave felt very good about the conversations that were taking place. And, the bottom line is, we have a document now. When things come up, we can point to it, and this is what we believe as a district to move forward. So we thought it was very, very important that we brought this forward. We thought that it was essential in the work that we are doing and where we go in the future. So again, we appreciate the input. Mr. Minsker, I agree, did a really nice job of trying to listen and still weigh out what we were doing and what the intention was. And so, again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Moving on to item 2F, contract extension for ABM cleaning services.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the director of operations, approves the contract extension for ABM cleaning services as presented.
Support. Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mrs. Coleman. Any discussion?
Just to clarify, this is for high school and middle school, correct? Thank you.
And Mr. Marino, your comments from last meeting stand. Very happy with service, no changes.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogoleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw? Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, that motion passes. Item 2G, Livingston County Sheriff Road Patrol Extension of Services.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the assistant superintendent of personnel and student services, approves the Livingston County Sheriff Road Patrol Extension of Services as presented.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw.
So I wanted to let the board know, you gave me some direction at the last meeting. I went back to the township manager Luce and let him know what our concerns were, that we needed to make sure that we clearly had information in there and a contract to sign that you had indicated, and we needed to look at reducing the cost. So we went from that 30% to that 20%. We still think, as a district, my recommendation and our staff's recommendation is that the board sign off on this, because we think that there's a lot of value in that road patrol and that relationship that we have that allows us that access to that road patrol and not just our SROs in our buildings. Not that Mr. King and Mr. Duff are not awesome, but they're also busy working in the schools every day. So, thank you.
In addition to this, I know there was some discussion and nothing's been put on the table, but there was talk about additional presence in the school. Would we add a third officer, so on and so forth? I think, in modeling that out, having Rachel model that out against the 15% fund balance in 3 years. But it doesn't have to be a this or that. It can certainly be a this and that. So if somebody would like to work on that to bring forward in a, additional meeting, obviously, a little bit time crunched with August being school start, but that would be for consideration of the board in addition to this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from my perspective, I do want to acknowledge the efforts made to try to take the feedback from the board in terms of cost and some of the concerns brought forth about the contract. I think, though, for me, I'm still not quite yet convinced. My personal preference, again, only mine, but I would rather see the money that we would allocate to this contract go towards either another SSO or another RSO, that we can kind of keep all of our security team kind of under the same single point of contact and, under one direction. Putting my board hat aside, even as a Hartland constituent, I would rather see the deputies allocating their time to, monitoring the future Chick-fil-A line that's coming and, might be a big traffic incident. But so, I mean, for me, I'd actually like to make a motion to the board that to divert the funds that we would allocate from this contract and set that aside for, another RSO or SSO to be determined at a future meeting.
So you're throwing a motion on the table, but I think there probably has to be additional discussion. So we'll certainly move forward with that motion. That was not on the agenda. So we need to add it as an item, and it needs to walk through just like anything else. So you would vote this one down and add that one, if that makes sense.
I think, I agree that we need some additional staffing. My concern is that by taking this piece first, we're not looking at the big picture. And we have a finite amount of money to spend. And so if we're spending this money now to pay the township, and that then inhibits our ability to add additional resources in the school, I think that would be a detriment. I know the discussion at the last meeting was, it's take it or leave it, one thing at a time. I think that's a short-term approach. I don't think it's a holistic approach. I think we should be looking at our security coverage as a whole for next year and deciding how we're going to proceed, not just piecemeal. Because again, if we approve this today, then that's $60,000 a year that we don't have to spend in the schools for direct resources for our students and our staff. The other thing that kind of concerns me about this, I went and looked at the township's budget, and they had initially budgeted, it looks like, to cover this entirely, and then had some budget amendments to roll that back a little bit. They don't have the revenue issues that we do, where our revenue is at a standstill. They have some steadily increasing revenue. I think they have the capacity and the ability to cover this in full and still provide most of these services. I don't think that if we don't pay this contract, that they're not going to be in the village patrolling in the morning. I mean, I don't think they're going to not run license plates when illegal activity is reported. It doesn't seem like a expectation we should have to set for them. That just sounds like what they're going to be doing in the natural course of their patrols and of their jobs. So again, I'm not saying it's a no forever, but I don't think that me or any one of us can be in a position tonight to approve this without understanding the bigger picture.
And just to add to Mr. Scott's concerns, some of the expectations that we were given in our board packet, I would expect them to do these things regardless. And it sounds like a list of expectations that are obvious, already happening, and don't need to be in here. So I'm thinking for the dollar value, we may want to consider having the funds to add more controlled employees that we hire through Fortis Group.
I can speak from working the road that if you don't have these directed patrols, you just end up where you end up. Whereas if these directed patrols are approved and you're assigned these directed patrols, you maintain your presence in that area as best you can. I think it'd be unfortunate to lose any of these bullet points. I recognize the cost, but the value, which I didn't even know of, Ms. Gregory, you spoke to that. And I think Superintendent Hughes, the extended hours of the coverage that we get, the weekends, and the ability to call them when there's an incident or you want additional focus that staff might tell you about or parents you get a call about to redirect them. Yeah, I think all the officers are good here in the county. They're awesome, but it's just if you lose this directed patrol, then these would just fall off. I mean, there's no assignments, to be here in this area. And then to add on what was brought up last month at the meeting that I wasn't aware about are very good points too, just that presence.
It sounds like in addition to this, and I'm just spitballing here, but in addition to this, there's a desire, depending on how this goes, could go one way or it could go the other. Either way, it sounds like there's a desire to understand how to increase resources within our buildings as well. Am I hearing that as well?
Absolutely, yes, that's it.
Okay, so.
Just a matter of how.
Does someone want to lead that discussion with Rachel and Mr. Hughes and bring something back to the board table? Rachel models everything out for 3 years, and she'll tell you all the pros and the cons, if there's potential grants that we can, cipher in to get certain things. But this, while we're here and all talking, does someone want to lead that initiative?
I mean, I'd be willing to lead it, but I would want to put the condition that we either postpone this vote or vote against it for now. But I think probably the preference from the board would be to at least postpone the vote on this. And Mr. Hughes, if I'm mistaken, please correct me, but I think we have basically until the end of the calendar year contractually. I know we want to get something in place before the next school year, but with respect to some of the expectations that were put forth, I guess even though, we've got four members of the Partners in Progress, of which I see 2 of them are offering to potentially pay money. But I think, if the Crow-Main Library Board picked up the phone and said, hey, will you do these same things? I have a feeling Sheriff Murphy or whoever is going to say, yes, we're going to do that. So again, I don't know that we necessarily have to spend the money specifically with the township to get this done. So again, I'm asking for the board's consideration. So I will make the motion to postpone the vote on the Livingston County Sheriff Road Patrol Extension of Services contract.
I second.
I have a motion by Mr. Keller to postpone this vote on the Livingston County contract, and supported by Mr. Gogolewski. Okay. Discussion on that motion. There's a lot that's kind of intertwined.
I've also had conversations about how this partnership has worked in the last 3 years. I don't support postponing this, and I do support moving forward with extending this contract. I've also spoken with some of our SROs in our buildings, with people in central office in the township, and I think this relationship should stay in place the way that it is. I have nothing wrong with looking at additional, but I think for me personally, this relationship should continue.
Mr. Gogolewski, I heard you as well, I think, over here.
Yeah, and again, it's just boils down to getting maximum bang for the buck in terms of what serves us best. I'm not too worried about, and I want to caution when I say this. Yes, I am worried about the relationship, but I think it's more important, especially with stretch spending, that we allocate these dollars wisely. So.
I think
go ahead, Mr. Kimball.
with consideration for this too, if we look at Mr. Hughes' presentation, it shows the safety level that the staff, the students are addressing to with what we have right now. They feel safe and comfortable, and it would be great to get more officers within the school, but in the current configuration that we have right now, which this would extend, you look at how everyone feels within the district and the schools, and they seem to approve of what we have now.
As someone that has received a reward from these individuals, I have seen those of you who have been in town for a long time, before this was put into effect and the after, I mean, if you just sit at Springer Field, you can see the difference in how people are driving through the village. So they're not running the four-way stop when, you know, the mom that was 5 minutes late used to run the four-way stop. It was probably me. But I think it's been a huge benefit. You know, I think we should always take a look at what our safety team looks like. Is it sufficient? Do we need more? Are there buildings that are struggling, so on and so forth? But those are just my discussion comments.
Yeah, I think postponing it would be a prudent thing to do. And I don't think anybody's talking about not continuing the relationship or not having coverage. I think the idea is we're just kind of putting the cart before the horse to allocate some portion of funds, you know, 2 or 3 weeks before we start budgeting for the year and before we have an idea of what the big picture is going to look like. You know, we could end up in a situation where we're able to add a whole new person, a whole new deputy to the township, maybe, and it only costs us $100,000 and we can get the services of both. You know, we don't know what the options are here in full because we haven't evaluated them, we haven't looked at them. And I highly doubt that, you know, if we don't agree, and it keeps getting referred to as a Livingston County agreement, but it's not a Livingston County agreement, it's a Hartland Township agreement. So,
With the Livingston County Sheriff.
I understand, but the contract is with Hartland Township. And so I don't know.
But did the sheriff agree to these bullet points? Those are from him, or did the township say that they will?
Yeah, the township said that they will sign off on this as they hold the main contract, right? And the sheriff's very clear that their sheriff is not going to be, have two bosses, two people to answer to. They're going to answer to the township. Township says, we're going to release these people to cover these expectations, absolutely, for the school district. So that's the weekends, that's the driving, that's being in our parking lots, it's being at Springer. They don't have to do that. And I think you made a good point, Mr. Campbell, that yes, it sounds great that, well, the township could pick up the whole cost and we'd have these 2 road patrols. Potentially the township will, right? Potentially, I told you last time, I'm sure the township will pick up the cost. But that takes their accessibility out of our hands and our ability to say, we need them here, we need them here, we need them here. And so we think for this cost, it's well valued for the district to make sure that when Deputy King is in our middle school, he's in our middle school working, and I can't pull Deputy King to say, I need you to go do road patrol over at Village, because the parents are driving through Village crazily to get to Round through all that traffic. And so I think that, again, it's up to the board. We've done what we can do to say, we think this is a really good situation for us. We think safety-wise that our staff and our parents, someone said, has said, hey, what we have is good. This is a good deal for us to have coverage and to have access to these officers. If the board doesn't want to do that, then that's your prerogative and we'll figure it out, but we think it's a good deal and it's a good partnership with the township.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry, you haven't had a chance.
Yeah, thank you. So Chuck, Mr. Keller alluded to this a few minutes ago, but what is the timing on the contract? If we don't vote to approve this tonight, does that affect our ability to participate in the contract or have this relationship down the road?
This contract starts August 1st. And so we wanted to get ahead of the curve so that the township and Cheryl Stockwell, who also pays part of this contract, knew what everybody was doing ahead of time so that when they take it for approval for the August, that it's taken care of, is my understanding.
Mr. Keller?
Well, first of all, I guess the contract that I read expired December 31st of 2025, which is the current contract. So I think we have time, but I guess just to make sure it's clear to everyone, I very much value the the job that the sheriff's, deputies have done for the township. For me, it's about a prioritization of the school's resources. And I think when you're paying for 100% of someone's time, or you could, and you're not getting 100% of that person's time, that's why I'm questioning the spirit of this agreement. Again, I think from a Hartland Township perspective, they will fund this, and I'm quite certain that if we ask the township to send somebody, or if we ask the, Sheriff Murphy or the undersheriff, and we need something, I'm confident that they will provide that. So again, I'm just asking for the board to consider prioritizing the resources to, where can we get 100% dollar for dollar for what we spend? And I think looking at another RSO or an SSO is a better use of those monies.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to postpone this that is by Mr. Keller, supported by Mr. Gogolewski. Moving forward, Mr. Scott, again, motion to postpone, not the original motion.
Yes.
Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
No.
Mr. Campbell.
No.
I'm a no, that motion passes. This motion is postponed, so we will not go back to the original motion. Item 2H, HEA Extension Agreement.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the chief financial officer, approves the HEA extension agreement as presented.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mrs. Coleman. Any discussion on item 2H, HEA Extension Agreement?
Yeah, I have a comment. With the following agreement, Mr. Campbell and myself have to recuse ourselves from deciding on that and remove our vote.
Mr. Gogolewski, I think that's the next one, HAA, right?
Yeah, what I'm saying, yes, right. I'm just saying, I'm using that one. And rightfully so. We have spouses that work in the school system. There is a conflict of interest, and there is a law stating that we have to do that. However, with this one, and there is no law, but to me, it's just sort of a matter of integrity that for the HEA who went about and supported certain candidates on this board, I do feel that there's a bit of a conflict of interest in voting on this by those that may have received that support. And although there's no law against it, I just want to bring that up as a point.
Any further discussion on the HEA Extension Agreement? Hearing none. Mr. Scott.
I'd like to say, I missed when you said a little more discussion, but it was great to see the teachers getting a big bump in next year, and that's been a big discussion, trying to make sure our great teachers get the pay they deserve. I'm not saying this gets you there, but it's good to see a big increase for next year. So looks good to me. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
I'm a yes, that motion passes.
I want to thank Kent Wabel, who's back here as the president of the HEA, and his team, who just, I can't say enough of the working relationship that we had. And I share this story, and board, you have to understand this. I shared this story with other superintendents. We have all these new, that used to be non-bargainable items that got brought back to bargain into the contract. We were able to do that very, very quickly and relatively painlessly because of the working relationship that we have with the HEA. So I just want to say thank you. And, certainly we always wish it could be more, but we also have to be thoughtful and deliberate as we look at the out years. So thank you for your time and effort, and Kent in particular as the board, as the president. So thank you and your team.
Thank you.
I do have a question for Mr. Hughes. When, and it may go before you started your current position, but when did the board stop being involved in contract negotiations? And I ask this because I've been told by a couple of different people that either are on a board in another district or served on a board in one of the local districts that they were quite amazed when giving me information about doing contract negotiations. I told them, no, we don't get involved in that at all. At all. Nobody does.
So I can tell you, as long as I've been in Hartland, the board has not sat on the negotiation table for contract negotiations. We try to keep the board apprised of, hey, for instance, when I told the board numerous times over the last year that when we sit down with the teachers, we got to take care of our teachers, that's what we were doing, knowing that we also have Rachel to project that out, that we're going to have to be able to justify that projection to you. But I can tell you, as long as I've been in Hartland, and I'm sure the HEA could respond, the board has never sat at the table to do negotiations in Hartland.
Well, what I find interesting too is that the MASB also puts on classes for board members to deal in negotiations, yet
So-
we don't set our foot in there.
So I think if you want to make a change, Mr. Gogolewski, you would bring that change to the board table, and then we would add it to the agenda if it's an official change.
Very good, yeah.
But we're on item 2I, HAA extension agreement.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the chief financial officer, approves the HAA extension agreement as presented.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion on HAA extension agreement? Hearing none. Oh, go ahead.
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Campbell.
yes, just to explain, as Mr. Gogolewski pointed, I plan to pass on this, abstain from this vote, just an ethical conflict with my spouse being employed by the district in this capacity, to explain that when my vote comes around.
Awesome. Mr. Scott?
Oh, sorry, can we continue discussion? Sorry.
Go right ahead.
What, does this dictate how many parapros or classroom aides we're adding?
No, it does not.
So I guess from the feedback from the teacher survey, that seemed to be a big component, is getting more help, more assistance in the classroom. I see on here we're adding a central office staff member, but not promising anything in the classroom, and that stood out to me. Was it who requested the addition of the central office staff?
That was our suggestion as we were moving the 3 members out of the union to still have a union member in the front office as a 52-week employee, answering the phones, starting at 6:30 a.m. in the morning to take care of the attendance issues that we have to take care of for substitutes and things like that. So that was our suggestion as we negotiated this process. In response to parapros in the classroom, I'll remind the board, parapros are dictated by IEPs. Parapros are dictated by the student IEPs that are developed and the hours of service needed for each child that happens to have an IEP. So it wouldn't be a matter of creating a formula saying this building gets 10 paras or this building. No, that's not how it works. Classroom paras are dictated by IEP services needed.
But what about the 2 FTEs that Mike just talked about? That's in it. You said classroom paras, but that's different. That's district resource, correct? And do they fall in this? They wouldn't fall in this contract?
No, they
They're
wouldn't fall.
LESA.
No, they're LSA employees. So our behavior specialists, the one at Village and one at Lakes, are employed through LESA with special capabilities, and they're not in this contract, so they're paid differently.
Okay. So I guess I have a different question.
So going back then to clarification on the central office staff. So is there a net change in the central office staff?
Yes, by 1.
So we're adding a central office staff member.
We're reducing legacy secretary from a 44-week, for a 52 to a 44, and we're adding a 52-week in the front office, correct?
And So who handles this stuff now?
It's spread out all over the place.
So it just strikes me as having just seen the survey results from the teachers and the lack of resources in some classrooms and some schools to then turn around and say, yep, we just listened to what you said, and our response is we're adding more central office staff, especially after when there was a central office staff member on the agenda a couple months ago, several community members stood up and said that they thought that was a poor use of resources. So it seems like just repackaging the sausage here.
Do we have the ability, Mr. Scott, are you done in your discussion? Do we have the ability to hire, this is theoretical, so say we wanted to bring in 2 more behavioral specialists at LESA, in theory, do we have the ability to request that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I would say, we don't know exactly what our para numbers will be next year. We can predict by the students we currently have and where they're at, but that's a situation that we evaluate. I sit, my HR director, the special education director, we sit and we have already gained feedback from our buildings of what our students' needs are based on those IEPs, and we sit in the spring and determine. So there is a chance that yes, we will need additional paras. There is a chance that no, we won't. It is truly based on those IEPs and what those teams create. Now, at the same time, that behavior specialist that's coming from LESA is kind of more administrative, I guess. They're not an administrator with Hartland, but they're a little bit higher. And so they're gonna help and they're gonna work with Adrian and hop into the buildings that are needed and help identify and support the teachers and the paras that are at that level. So it is somebody with a little bit more training to come in and support. So I think we will see additional classroom support and teacher support through the help of LESA and what we've been trying to build over the last 1.5 to 2 years, because this was something brand new that we started with Village last year and expanded to Lakes that hasn't ever been done, and it's actually working. And so we're pretty excited about that too. So obviously there's progress to be made, and we're seeing that and we're learning as we go, but we are adding some of those additionals as well.
Right, but as a board tonight, we're saying the only thing we can guarantee is more help in the central office, and to me, that just seems backwards.
Can I just ask a clarification question? Does this agreement prohibit us from adding any further support?
Absolutely not. We can add support when we need to. This agreement also, for instance, the front office position will help alleviate some things out in the buildings, such as doing all the enrollments, so a central enrollment situation, so that the secretaries aren't taking time to enroll kids throughout the year and to go through that process. We're going to take that on at central office, and we think that's a better model for keeping track of where our kids are coming from and where our kids are going, how we can survey parents when they enroll. Why did you choose Hartland? How can we I know, Mr. Keller, you've asked this a few times, can we survey why they left? Like, having a central person that can be in charge of that is going to be helpful to us. So as we bargained this contract, we bargained these things in the contract. So all of these that you see in front of us are part of this bargained contract. And so we think that they're positive. The HAA felt that they were positive, and so we can move forward with this. And that's just those conversations that occur. And we can always add. The board, we hear some people say, well, we need more support. We have one building, for instance, that the staff and the principal consciously made the decision to forego parapros for an extra special ed teacher. So instead of having 2 parapros, they have an extra special ed teacher. So it does 2 things in that building. One, it brings the number of caseload down for each of the special ed teachers. And 2, you have a teacher that's trained with specific capabilities of helping intervene with students that are pushing in and working with kids in the classroom on a regular basis. It works for that building. They like that. Sometimes they might forget that they have made that conscious decision, but that's how they do it in our district, and that works for that building. So you really have to try to understand, and I will tell you that we had a lot of conversation with the HEA, Kent, I'm going to point to you, about support. and we created a list of all the support mechanism in play for all of our teachers throughout the district. And I think, Kent, you even said to me, we need to make sure our teachers see this list regularly. So you can deny that, but I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think we talked about that. Yeah, so.
So, and then just one follow-up statement, I think just to reiterate what Pam shared is that the membership voted unanimously as a tentative agreement, so they are happy with this.
I understand, and I will support the agreement, and I like the fact that they're getting, again, a good bump next year. I think we have to tread carefully here as we promise more resources to the central office and not making those separate promises to the teachers and to the schools. That's going to put a lot of pressure on it. And again, we're, same thing as last time. We're asking to approve an agreement the month before we do our budgeting. I would rather see this at a point where we have our 3-year projections and we can say, hey, look, we can add 8 paras in the district and a central office person. That makes this a much better situation than to say approve central office first and then approve building resources. I just don't like being put in that position where we're forced to, again, put the cart before the horse and do things out of order. Of course, I think all of the folks are doing a great job. They deserve every bit of the raise and more. I would just like to see a little more forward planning to make sure that the buildings are getting the resources they need.
Any additional discussion?
One quick comment. I think based upon, and I don't have it broken down, but the personnel survey that was done, I did see, correct me if I'm wrong, but at least a couple of remarks talking about the need of maybe more parapros, and I'm definitely all for that if we can somehow increase that as opposed to other personnel, other office personnel. So,
Any additional? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogolewski?
I abstain.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Abstain.
I'm a yes, that motion passes.
Again, I want to thank Pam and her leadership team for the hours we spent working through this, and great conversation. We thought it was a win-win for everybody. You'll notice in here, for instance, and I thought this was going to be a really hard sell for their unit, is the lunch recess para, not only getting the 6%, but also getting an extra $1 added to that first year of that salary schedule, because those are really hard positions to fill. And so we wanted to make it more attractive, again, attracting and retaining. And you went out and you talked to your members and they said, absolutely, we support this. So I think that this is a very fair contract for them, and it takes care of a lot of the needs that everybody had. So again, Pam, thank you and your team, and please tell them that for me.
Moving on. Item 2J, high school gymnasium scoreboards.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the director of operations, approves the high school scoreboards purchase as presented.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mrs. Coleman. Any discussion on high school gymnasium scoreboards? Not gymnastics, sorry guys. We don't have scoreboards.
Do we have like a complete failure of the current one, or what are we getting for the price here, which is pretty hefty? Are we getting like now graphics or something that we can do, or?
Halo all the way around.
That'd be cool. So your first answer to your first question, no, we don't have failure of the current scoreboard. However, the current scoreboard is original to the building, which was put in 2002. We found that we are unable to get replacement parts and service on that. Now, I'm gonna knock on wood because it has been stable, but we don't want to get to a point during an event that it fails. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to, have a scoreboard for that event. Answer to your second question, it is 2 video boards, similar to what's out at the football field or we've installed currently in the pool, which allows for multifunction. as well as 2 static, I'm going to say basketball scoreboards, that can be used when the video boards are not in operation, so that they don't need to have somebody man it or a person to load the graphics, that type of thing. But the graphics the video boards have kind of become the norm in terms of athletic events and things like that, where students are loading content and video on the board. Example for football games, the students in the graphics art classroom, Mr. Butzer's classroom, created content for senior nights and things like that, video montages and that type of thing. So it sounds like there's going to be some integration between the curriculum and the athletic complex. So.
Okay. As someone that's had numerous problems with home electronics, is there a lengthy warranty on some of this stuff? Because the first thing to always go south are
technology.
Yeah, technology. And
so there is a warranty period on that. There is Daktronics has been very good to, I'll say, the athletic industry across the state. We have a rep that is in Michigan that honestly, anytime I pick up the phone and call him, he does answer for me. There are replacement modules in each board. So if you look at the football field on the back panel, it says replacement parts. Anytime we've had the baseball or softball, the kids hit them with the baseball, we've been able to get replacement parts, and they usually ship within a couple days. So we've had pretty good success.
okay, I just don't want us to be behind the 8 ball if, for whatever reason, maybe we don't replace this in the next 10, 15 years, that we still have the availability to at least repair it.
So I will say yes, but technology is ever changing. And Jason's sitting in the
Right.
back. He can probably attest to that too from tech department. But we have found that Daktronics has kept up with the times.
We've signed you up to fix it.
Yeah.
I was talking.
Yeah,
to
that'll be
Mr.
fun.
I was talking to Mr. Marino about this, and one of the things I thought was cool was with this package, maybe you can expand on. There's going to be some real-world opportunities for students to learn technology that they will probably be able to take on with them. And I thought that because it's an industry standard.
Yep. This software that we just use on a much smaller scale, but this same software is used in Little Caesar Arena and many colleges. So as students learn it in high school, they can transition that to college application or even pro application if they so choose, which is nice. They've been supportive in providing materials and things like that, that eventually when it gets integrated in the curriculum, they can start using that software.
Does the old scoreboard, you said it's old but working, does that go to another property, or are we able
Nope,
to sell
that's
it?
going to be thrown in the garbage probably.
Is it just, okay.
So.
I will say they are very old school, and in going to other gyms through different sporting events and districts, we need an upgrade.
Yeah.
We need an upgrade.
And we've been very diligent as a board as well as a district is upgrading our current, this is kind of the last. We started probably back in 2018 with the baseball, softball, and migrating and upgrading everything else. So it's been nice.
Hey, Matt, question on the scoreboard. So is there any energy savings or anything that we'll see as a result of kind of migrating to LED technology? Is there anything like that?
Probably not.
Make
because-
Rachel happy with
No,
less?
so we got great
operator?
rates on electrical too, by the way, lowest in the state. But no, we're actually going to be using a little bit more just because they are bigger boards and there are 4 of them versus 2 of them. So they are still very efficient, but they're different than what we currently have, so.
So no grant or anything available for high efficiency appliance?
Probably not for scoreboards.
We might save money if we would turn them off right after every event and not just keep them on.
Get a motion sensor for it,
Yeah.
and everybody leaves, it shuts off. I guess just last general question, what's the source of funds? Is this
So this
sinking fund, or is this
This would be
general
bond,
fund?
and
okay.
Rachel could speak to it too, but these are bond dollars that were approved as from the taxpayers as well as the board originally when we wrote the bond application. Athletics has some funds that they are allowed to use for equipment, and this is what Mr. Hassler and Mr. Fitzgerald decided to use, so.
Thanks, Matt.
Any additional discussion on the scoreboards? Was that the universe telling us something?
I'm just going to stay here for the next one in case.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogolewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I'm a yes, that motion passes. Item 2K, Lakes Elementary masonry repair on the exterior wall.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the director of operations, approves the masonry repair at Lakes Elementary as presented.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? I know some of that came up in your bond update, but any additional discussion on that?
One comment about the bids for the masonry, and this has nothing to do with the actual job itself, but the discrepancy in the bids is pretty extreme. Are we not maybe defining our scope of work as best as we should, or?
So, Mr. Scott asked the same question. When we did our post-bid interviews with each contractor, we did find out that some of them lumped alternate ones and twos into their base bid. So alternate one was basically to do the work outside of the school or outside of the summer and do it during the school year, which is not advantageous for us, but a possibility that we would need to look at. We determined as part of post-bid that we don't need to do that because the contractor could meet the timeline. And then the alternate, sorry, and I'm going off memory, 2 and 3 were for adding concrete and some other things as part of a refrigeration package that we were looking to do for food service. But we ended up pulling that project because the state of Michigan came back and put some limitations on us in terms of that project and wanted us to build a 2-hour separation wall and some other things that we decided were not going to meet our timeline for summer as well as our budget. So we're just going with the base bid in front of you today for that project.
Yeah, I just wondered because, and it could easily be the situation where one just charges more, but sometimes some of these quotes that we see, I'm just hoping that we're able to standardize our scope of work to all bidders. And
we do a pretty good job, even the high one. I mean, ultimately, they might not have wanted to do the work and they just threw a number at it and decided, you know what, if they take it, great, I'll make a lot of money. I don't know. So it's one of those things.
No, that's a possibility too.
We are cautious about that at the same time.
All right, any additional discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Gogoleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, that motion passes. Moving on to item 3A, 25-26 parent-student handbooks. Who's tackling this one? Normally it's Dave that reviews
It's Miss
this.
Kate.
Okay, here we go.
Normally it's Scott Van Neff.
Oh, yeah, you're right, you're right. Ms. Gregory, what you got for us?
Okay, not too much this year. We have one change to the secondary handbook. It's just with their attendance makeup time, going back to a half an hour of makeup time for the tardies instead of a full hour. So the high school team thought that that was a valuable change. And then the second two are a little bit bigger in chunks. We have our transportation. It's been a little bit since they went through and revised the policies so that they're consistent in all 3 handbooks. So you can see through those changes. I don't think there's anything huge within there. And then similar for our school health regulations. Our school nurse went through. We weren't necessarily aligned in all 3 levels of our handbooks. So she went through and created some updates there that met state standards and true practices and follow some of the guidelines that she has to follow with the school.
Sorry, guys. Obviously, this is for discussion. If there's things that come out as, oh my gosh, first time I read, why is this in there, or anything, please contact Kate. I know we have a couple of new members. This is something that comes forward every year, and then once adopted, is adopted as policy.
And we are very thankful to have it adopted by the June meeting because July 1st, we are looking at the next school year. So parents are signing off on the handbook and so forth, so we would like all those changes updated and completed by that time that we're rolling out to parents looking at the next school year. So if any questions come up over the next month, I am more than happy to answer those questions.
I have an easy question probably, but the postcards, I see we're not going to mail those. Is that just for cost savings?
cost savings, and parents like to see the immediate, and it's released on MyStar a lot quicker.
Okay.
It's 2025, man.
Do we?
Well, I
can
know,
we-
but there's, people that don't like to use apps and things.
Can we
so.
like put out some notice in advance of that so people aren't looking for them? Because I feel like that's the one thing everybody's checking their mailbox.
I'm sure we can with our buildings, when they send out their initial letters, that we can share, or in even Chuck's weekly.
And the new app for Hartland Living. So if you didn't sign up for it and you saw it in my weekly, add that to your phone and you'll get automatic updates, snow days, road closures. Hey, check your parent portal because the routes are out. So there you go. So there's a good opportunity.
All right.
See, I'm plugging. I teed it up for you.
Item
Good job.
3B, something is happening in the background, some noises. Item 3B, policy committee date. I just want some feedback from you all. I can send out a doodle poll to get concrete dates, but are we looking on solidifying Mondays? Do we want to try and do it a little bit earlier than 6:30? What works with you all? I know some of you all have structured work schedules, others not so much. Do you want to change it up from a Monday to a Wednesday? I would like to avoid Fridays. I think everyone probably would. What's your preferences? And then I can send out a poll.
Personally, I prefer keeping it on Mondays. For those of us that travel quite a bit, any other day but Monday can be a real bear. So,
Same here, same time. Seems to work also, 6:30.
And I think that's fine for me too. I think my bigger question is, what is the structure of these? What can we expect? What are we doing during these?
I think the first meeting is, there's some policies that need to come forward at the first meeting, but I think the first meeting, that discussion has to occur around what is the structure? What does it look like?
And they are not decision-making meetings, correct?
As of now, no.
Discussion.
not at all.
It was just discussion.
Just to flush out questions.
My understanding is from that policy committee, a draft would then be brought for approval to the board table, correct? So, and then
Yes.
any new policies would go there for feedback before coming to the board table.
Right.
Okay.
I would say, I would caution for whatever you as a board want to do, but I do agree with, if you're going to have the policy committee and you have discussion, that's the discussion as a board meeting would be, so that it becomes an action item at the next meeting, because if not,
So slow.
it would slow it way down, so.
Right,
that's
so
all.
it would be a discussion item at the policy committee meeting, and then the next meeting we have, it would be an action item to vote on.
Yes.
Are you guys okay with that? We
I
can
agree.
draft some language even to bring
Yeah.
to this meeting that spells that out.
As long as it fulfills any legal obligations, I'm
It's a
fine with
meeting,
it.
we
Yeah.
have to, given it's open, it's
Yeah.
the same OMA.
So there would be much less discussion
Here.
here and more action, and yeah, I like that.
Okay.
I guess just to weigh in on dates, I also would like to keep it Mondays, and I'm open to going earlier if that,
Do we have, so you're going to send out a poll with
Yeah.
just give us Mondays at,
Does earlier work for you, Mr. Campbell? I know you said this time works.
Yeah, 6:30 seems to work good, but flexible.
Okay. Mr. Gogolewski?
I agree.
Like, is 5 too early, 5:30 too early,
It's not, can make it work.
5:30?
6 o'clock,
6.
6:15, 6:20, 6:25.
Well, keep in mind, too, if it's an open meeting, if there are people that want to attend, I'd be open to 6 for sure.
Okay.
support.
And my availability depends on the sports season, so.
Okay. All right. Item 4A, future meeting, June 16th, right here, 6:30 PM. Item 4B, proposed July organizational meeting date. What is the proposed date on the calendar?
July 21st,
Can everyone make that?
right, Renee?
Yeah, it's on this agenda, it's at the bottom it says July 21st is proposed.
Does anyone have a hard conflict with the 21st? I get you probably don't have your calendar, and for those of you that has wives, probably need to check in. I don't know about you, but my husband would be lost without a family calendar.
Yeah.
Email me, I guess, in the next week if there's a hard conflict with the 21st, please. Okay, yeah, let me know. All right, we are adjourned. Item 5. It hasn't.